The way that she has brought everyone together, even in death, is a legacy that I will cherish forever. I'm hearing stories about people wanting to be nicer to each other in her memory.
So sometimes we say better late than never, but in this case I think the proper phrase is it's a little bit too little too late. And that's what I say to all of these kids, and I'll call them kids. I know people kind of say they're young adults, and I call them kids because of this mentality that we'll talk about shortly. But I don't know what to say, and in this video you're going to hear, or you're going to see some things that have been said by a specific person. And I think it's some of the most shocking things that she has come out with to date. But first of all, what I want to do is I want to talk quickly about this case and what we're seeing around it. What we are seeing is a situation where it's almost yet again being controlled. And it's being controlled of what we are supposed to think about it, and what we should be allowed to say about it, and what we can say or should be saying about certain people. Now, we've seen other cases where the families and the people around the victim are almost off limits, because it becomes, they call it a hate campaign, or we're bullying, or we're being nasty, or we're putting them through pain and turmoil, and we shouldn't be. And I'm going to address that right here and say, look, I was reading something and it was talking about this area, the Truckee area, and the fact that these teens, they were concerned about their mental health because of how they had been targeted online. And, it's always been this, isn't it? Throughout this case, it's been an attack upon social media, upon people's, people's perception, how they perceive things and what they say about it. That's all right when someone's got the hand out and they want something, but as soon as that is done and they've got what they want from it, they don't want it anymore. It's almost like we've been used for a one night stand, and that doesn't wash with me. We're now being told that these teens are going through the mill. They're going through some pain, which I beg to differ. And, Kiely, she lost her life. She was 16 years old at the point when she died. And there's an argument as to whether she should have been at this party. I put a comment out in a video and someone said, she did deserve to be there. She had a right to be there. And I still argue that. Kiely was a 16-year-old girl. And, I could almost go as far as saying, well, the fact of what happened proves that I was right in that she didn't really need or should have been there. She was driving illegally, and it's not regarding her age, it's to do with the restrictions of that state in terms of what time she should have been driving, whether she should have had passengers in the car, so on and so forth. And I'm not going to do your homework for you. Go and do it yourself if you want to argue that point. She was driving illegally. She was drinking alcohol illegally, if we're led to believe what the likes of Elsa, etc. said. And, she lost her life. And at the moment, we are playing a bit of a waiting game. We're expecting the toxicology report and the autopsy report sometime, I'm guessing between now and mid-November, perhaps. They've given a date. The only date that's kind of been circulating is the 1st of November. But I still feel that there's a potential that this will not bring this to a conclusion. I almost feel that we're just waiting for them to tell us that it's inconclusive. The amount of time that Kiely remained where she remained, I won't go there in this video, but we know why she spent so much time there. And she shouldn't have been there in the first place. And I don't want to point the fingers at specific people. knock my mic. I don't want to point the fingers at specific people, but sometimes you have to. And I do specifically point the fingers at Kiely's mum, at Sami, at Mags, and at Elsa. These three people, I feel, were the ones who could have put a stop to this. And I know what I'm going to get. I'm going to get some people in the comments saying, you have no right to point the finger at these people. Yes, I do. I do have a right to point my finger at these people. And this is the reason why. So with regards to Kiely's mum had a duty as a parent to police that situation better than what she did. Now, if she wanted to allow her 16-year-old child to go to this party, then she should have made damn sure that she did what she could to make sure Kiely was okay. So swapping out text messages for physical phone calls. So she is keeping a track on her daughter throughout that evening. Even if it was a case of, you can go, but I need you to call me and check in with me and make sure that you're all right. With that rule being set in place, maybe with the caveat that if I ring you and you do not answer, then I'm going to come to where you are and I will take you from that party. And that's what a responsible parent should be looking to do. And any child with respect for their parent would trust that that will happen and likely have the desired effect. It may not, but ultimately you could then go to that party if she does not, and perhaps prevent a tragedy. But she could have stopped it. Why was she allowed to drive there? Why was she allowed to drive back there and late beyond curfew? And why was she not there to make sure that she came in when she said she was going to? So that is why I have the negative comments towards the mum. And that's it. Because in my eyes, her mum didn't do enough. Now, as far as Sami goes, Sami, she was the older kid, and she, by her own admission, has claimed to be, even though it doesn't really make sense when she talks about it because she can't really get her words out and she seems just completely disingenuous, but she calls herself a close friend. But from what we hear about this party and how people discuss it, Elsa talking about the timeline, I've got the timeline, we can all look at the timeline, go through it, I'll do a live perhaps tomorrow, and we'll go over that, with a finer tooth comb if you like. But ultimately, Sami had in one breath said that she wanted Kiely to take her home because her ride was going. So Kiely was at that point staying, so she wanted to go with her. Then she turned around and said she didn't want to go in the car with Kiely because Kiely was too drunk. Then she said that she hugged Kiely before she left. And then in the next breath, they're having another conversation on the phone where Kiely's called her and asked her if she still needs a lift. So, I asked before, if this was an interview with law enforcement, what would law enforcement think? What would they think? They'd be thinking, well, get your fucking story straight. And then we have got Elsa herself. And Elsa has, she is the person who put the timeline together. I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This timeline went around social media. It went through Twitter. It went on YouTube. It's been shown on this channel, numerous other channels. And when you read through that timeline, there are points in that timeline where you are left thinking to yourself, well, why didn't you do more? Why couldn't you have picked up your phone when you realised that Kiely had walked to her car, and then you hadn't seen her for 30 minutes, and you knew that there was fights breaking out and the roads being blocked off? Why couldn't you have picked up your phone and just made sure that she was all right? Or once you got in the car, go back down there and check. Nobody wanted to do anything. This girl was seemingly out there on her own. Mags, who she'd gone to the party with, not long, if you believe the timeline, she left not long after they got there because of the drugs being pushed. That was, again, what we was told. So many of these kids are having shade thrown on them, but that's why they're having shade thrown on them. But anyway, now I want to talk quickly about, so we're talking about the people on social media who are saying they shouldn't be spoken about. We're causing more harm than good, and this isn't what the true crime niche is all about. We're just bullying people. And we're also hearing about the mental health of these kids in this area and saying that they are suffering and they need time to heal. We've also heard Kiely's mum herself saying, that they need time to heal and get over it. And you heard at the beginning, about them. She's hearing that they now want to be nicer to one another. What does that mean? They want to be nicer to one another. You'll sort of read into that as you will. But this is a picture that was on Sami's TikTok. She's subsequently removed it, by the way, because as you can appreciate, she's uploaded it, and I would imagine that very quickly people cottoned onto what was going on. And, So why such an uproar? Well, within this video, and this is just a still, but within this video, they were dancing, they were singing, they were obviously very happy about the new start, the new academic year, and they were singing a song. They had a song playing in the background, and this is where you're going to get incredibly shocked, because here are the lyrics of that song. Now, I want you to read those lyrics. I want you to contemplate what we know, and on top of what we know, what we're being told. And then I want you to comment down below and tell me what you think. Because I'm going to tell you what I think. And that is that what I'm seeing here is a girl who she put herself at the forefront of this entire situation from the beginning. When all of the search parties and everything was going on, she dressed up like she was going to a rave with ripped clothing, with paint on her, like a scene from an Ibiza beach. She looked like she was reveling in it. And I'm not saying she was. I'm just saying that she looked like she was reveling in it. Okay? And now on top of that, we now see that she had gone down by Prosser Reservoir, it seems, and she was dancing earlier on, and that was another video that went up, and then it got removed. And this is someone who has remained close to Kiely's mum. They've been in an embrace. She went to the celebration of life, and there's some pictures here of the celebration of life. But we now see in TikTok that she is literally dancing and singing, and the lyrics that she speaks of have a direct correlation to the scenario that we in the true crime community, those I suppose in camp foul play, are going to be receptive to. It's going to be like dangling the cheese to the mouse. And then people wonder why things get said. Now this girl is either completely stupid. She is either completely stupid, she's had nothing to do with this, and she's just, I don't know, just a girl who doesn't understand anything. Or there's something much darker under the surface, and what we're actually seeing is a complete and utter narcissist. This is someone who either had involvement or knows what happened, played a part in the beginning to help cover it up and control the narrative, perhaps with the help of friends who themselves have their feet in the water of law enforcement. We've heard, is it Tyler Feller had spoken and was told that the search party were told that they couldn't go beyond 25 feet into the water, and they were specifically looking for the phone. Now, if that doesn't add to the corruption pile, I do not know what does. But you tell me down below, with everything that we're seeing and all these little things, what are we supposed to think? Honestly, tell me what we're supposed to think. Because even if this situation was purely an accident and Kiely simply lost her life because she went to a party She had had some drinks. She managed to navigate that difficult road. She then drove her car down an embankment into the water and then climbed herself precariously into the back sort of compartment of that vehicle and lost her life, and nobody knew anything about it. Have we really got it this wrong? I can't buy it. I'm sorry. I just can't buy it.